welcome to the one and only Team 2.
Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, May the 20th, 2024. Hopefully you can see me okay, you can hear me okay, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you'll let me know in the chat if that's not the case. So what an event we had yesterday. Alexander Usyk becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And we've got a few people in the chat already, so we'll get to some comments there. Now, if I read this, not sure if it comes up backwards here, guys, but I think it writes itself as we go. So apologies if I read your comment out back to front, or if you've got a couple of comments there. But yeah, what an event it was. It was everything that we thought it would be, well, everything we hoped it would be, probably more importantly. And I think we got exactly what we wanted, didn't we? It was just a fantastic fight, ebbs and flows, back and forth. Just a really, really good or great heavyweight fight. And probably interesting to see how it compares to previous heavyweight blockbusters. I mean, you go right back to Ali Fraser, Ali Foreman, Holmes, Cooney, obviously Tyson, Spinks. I mean, there's so many big fights. Holyfield, Lewis, all the rest of it. But yeah, it was just look. I'll say right off the bat, I did get criticism last time because I didn't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up around 5 and watched what was it, the one just before Cordina and Kasasi, that fight, and then of course Jai, and then the main event. I wasn't that fussed about the undercard. I know there were some good fights on there, but I must admit wasn't super keen to get up like I was and the last show. I think it was at Christmas time last year, but or was it Christmas Eve, was it, or something like that anyway. But either way, look, the main event really measured up. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts about this, how you had it. Actually, Glenn's just put a comment in there. We'll start with you, Glenn. Watched it 3 times, 115, 112 for me. Exactly the way I had it, Glenn. I had it 115, 112. But how did the rounds measure up? This is the thing. I mean, end of the day, as long as we get to the final destination, that's all that matters, doesn't it? But I didn't even think to look today about the official scorecards and how different they were. I'd love to see the scorecard, and now that I've thought of it, I'll do it after the show, but I'd love to see the scorecard of the judge that had it 114, 113 for Tyson Fury, because the thing is, and I know a lot has been said, of course, every man and his dog, whether it be a YouTube channel or any social media channel or the mainstream channels, whatever it might be, I think a lot of people had it really, really close. I must admit, I didn't see it as overly close. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, look, maybe I'm in the minority. I need to watch it again. But I remember on the day, and sorry, I'll get to your comments in a minute there, guys. I remember watching it. I thought the first 2 rounds went to Usyk, but they were close, so maybe they could have went either way. I thought the next 4 rounds went to Fury. I thought he was dominant in those middle rounds. But I said a lot of the experts, if you want to call them that, on the different channels, saying that they thought that Usyk was 4-2 up after 6 rounds. I can't see it that way. Again, I'll have to watch it back. But I thought I had it 4-2 after 6 rounds to Fury. I thought that from the 3rd to the 6th were very clear to Tyson and Fury. And then Usyk was able to regroup, get himself back on track. And I don't really think that Fury won. What did I have it? He must have won one more round, or did he? No, I think he must have won one more round for the fight for me. I can't remember what round it was, but then, of course, the 10-8 rounds took it. I mean, the scary thing for me is that it would have been a draw if not for the knockdown, which would just be a travesty. It really would. And again, I know some people out there did think that Fury actually won. I can't see it. I really can't, especially with a knockdown. I just cannot see it. Anyway, we'll get to some comments here. We'll start with Dundee. Luke, how are you, Luke? Got up at 12:30 a.m., mate. You are a better man than me. Did you stay up at... You actually got up at 12:30. What time did you go to bed? Like 6 o'clock or something? Jeez. Yeah, mate. I know some people stayed up past that time to watch the event, but not to actually get up at 12:30. Yeah, look, yeah, and as I say there, what a card. Glad I did. Yeah, as I said, mate. Look, you know, a great card, but still to get up at that time, mate, you are very, very keen, and I tip my lid to you, mate. Glenn, actually, I think, what have I done here? I'm not sure. I'll go down the comments again. I'm not sure why they come up back to front at the start. Glenn agrees with Peter. I haven't actually read Peter's comment out there, but Glenn agrees with it. Briedis is the second best cruiser in the world. He certainly is, mate, and he proved it. Still with Glenn, told you Usyk's left to the body would play a big role, and it did, or bit role. It did, mate. Certainly did. He, especially early. He was jabbing to the head, and then he'd spear that straight left to the body, wouldn't he? And it worked, and it really set up the overhand left, or the left hook, whatever you want to call it. But again, I thought that Fury took control from rounds 3 to 6, and I thought he looked sensational in those rounds from 3 to 6. And I thought Usyk was gone, to be honest. I thought that Fury was starting to get to him. He'd started to gas, and I thought that Tyson Fury might have even got him out of there in the next couple of rounds, but it just swung. It was just like that. It just swung, and then, of course, the 9th round. So, Damien, how you going there, mate? What a great event that was. Hell yes, Usyk now in less than 2 weeks. The 5-5, that the pay-per-view or free and DAZN? Yeah, good question, that. I'll have to check that out because the main event Fallout, it's still not saying. Okay, I will check that out there, mate. Now, Bivol was fighting, and I always get, is it Millad or Miv? He fought on the last card anyway, and I always get it. I know it's Z and an M, but I keep, maybe I'm dyslexic or something that I can't. Was it Divad or Mivad or whatever the hell it was? The one that fought on the Nikita Zoo undercard and beat Jerome Pampelone. He will be fighting Dimitri Bivol. So I think it still might be. It would be now if it's Eddie Hearn, it'll be DAZN, won't it? And Marcus of Queensberry. So I think it will be DAZN, Damien, but I'm not quite sure anything's been up yet. But we will have a look at that for you, mate. So now just on Usyk too, that he's only going to be heavyweight champion for a couple of weeks, which I think is the biggest travesty of all. It's almost bigger than ripping him off the decision in the first place. Well, almost. To think that the IBF are going to come in and strip Alexander Usyk after unifying the title and not even sitting down and to negotiate, to have a conversation, I think it absolutely stinks. I really do. You would think that maybe, and look, it might happen yet, but you would think that the IBF and the management of Usyk and the management of Joshua and all the other heavyweights involved in this little scenario would sit down and work out a solution. They would allow Usyk to fight Fury next, and then maybe the winner of that must defend against, is it? So Hrgovic is fighting Dubois, isn't it? Well, maybe the winner of that fights Joshua, and the winner of that fights Usyk, because obviously Usyk and Fury will fight end of the year. But just to strip him within 2 weeks and not even give the guy a chance to negotiate any type of arrangement, I think it is absolute bullshit, to be honest. But nothing surprises me with the sanctioning bodies. And I said in the review yesterday, I normally applaud the IBF for the stance on the no bullshit policy. But this is one instance. They need to sit back and say, okay, well, we need to sit down with all parties and work out a solution here, because we're not going to strip this guy. Finally, the heavyweight title is unified, and we're going to strip the guy within 2 weeks. Absolute bullshit. But anyway. All right, Peter. Opetaia is better than a solid fighter. Briedis beats the shit out of all the other cruiserweights. When you have his power and will to compete, you're always going to be hard to beat. Yeah, I think that's a little bit understated in it all, isn't it, Peter? That Briedis is the second best cruiserweight in the division. Again, I said in my review yesterday, I won't say I was disappointed or anything like that, but I just had to sort of stop a little bit and just have a double take as far as Jai goes. Look, I think Jai is a superstar. I think he will unify the division if he doesn't choose to go to heavyweight first. I think he's a once-in-a-generational type of talent, and Briedis is clearly the number 2. But I was surprised, even though it was a headbutt with a nose and everything else, I was surprised at how quick the fight was able to turn. Excuse me. Unlike the first one with the jaw, it was only the last round or two that Jai had to hold. And almost like as soon as that happened, the fight with a click of the fingers changed, and it was suddenly Jai looking very vulnerable, very very tentative, I suppose, and Briedis on the hunt. I know a broken nose can do that to you. Trust me, I know I've had one myself, as you can probably see there. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Briedis was able to take control so quickly, even with the bloodied or broken nose. But secondly, I suppose if you want to call it disappointment, that Jai just refused to step off and box and take a breather. He actually tried to trade with Briedis, and that's the thing I think he's got to get out of his game. We love Jai. He's a warrior. He comes to fight. But I just didn't see the need in trading with Briedis for those last 2 rounds. He had the fight won. I think I'd only given Briedis 1 round up to like round 9, and that was probably being generous. So I thought it was a shutout almost at that stage. And I understand accidents happen. He got the headbutt. He would have been swallowing blood, but so was Briedis. Really would have upset his momentum. And if that's the case, just take a step back. It wasn't like Briedis was like Mike Tyson coming at him. He was only landing shots because Jai was standing right in front of him and trading with him. I think if Jai just had taken a couple of steps back, got back on the jab, chewed up 30 seconds here and 15 seconds there, he just would have taken the sting right out of the fight and just cruised to a unanimous decision. Now, having said that, Jai, I think in the interviews after the fight, did actually say himself that he was disappointed in the way he handled the situation. And look, it's all experience. I'm certainly not going to say it affects my view of Jai in any way, but it just probably highlighted a couple of things that Jai is going to have to work at if he's going to take that next step to absolute superstardom. And one is that he has to, when he is hurt, he has to learn to back off, get his breath, clinch, hold, take a round off, whatever it needs to be to get back on track. And I think he just, those last 3 rounds, and there was a couple of shaky moments in there, wasn't there? So, look, again, you're right there, Peter. Briedis is clearly the number 2 cruiserweight out there, but this could have been an easy shutout for Jai. That's probably the only knock I would give Jai on it, but geez, you're grasping at straws, aren't you, to even think of anything that you could put towards Jai because of such a brilliant performance for the first 9 rounds. And judging by his comments after the fight, I think Jai, he would be thinking exactly what I just said. Damn, why did I trade with him? Why didn't I just step back and box? Why did I have to slug with him and almost blow the fight? So he'll learn from it. His team will learn from it, and I'm sure going forward, this will be taken out of his game. All right, Tommy, how are you there, mate? Opetaia was a solid fighter, but for Briedis at almost 40 years of age and 22 months inactive, to put on that kind of performance has to worry you a bit. As I said, Tommy, look, I'm not worried because you've got to look at the circumstances. I understand Briedis is nearly 40. He's been inactive for almost a couple of years. But I think in this respect, Jai brought this upon himself in that when the headbutt happened, as I just said, instead of taking a step back and regrouping, he tried to slug with Briedis and just made it so easy for Briedis pretty much just to put his head down and start bowling punches and land those punches. Because earlier in the fight, Jai dominated the exchanges. He was too fast with his hands, too fast with his feet. Every time they got into exchange, Jai got the better of it. And then when the accidental headbutt, by the way, happened, it just played into Briedis' hands. That's all it was. So I think it was more Jai what would you say, adapting the wrong game plan, the wrong reaction to that, rather than just boxing his way to an easy decision. So, yeah, I'm certainly not going to panic about it, Tommy. Andrew says, what an awesome fight. For me, 6 rounds apiece. Knockdown winning it for Usyk. Got the zone. Computer went blank. Had to head to casino. Is that right? Geez, I had it on my computer as well. Well, that's interesting, Andrew. It's a good take you got there. As I said before, I thought Usyk won 7 rounds to 5 and then the knockdown on top of that. That's the way I had it. Everyone sees it differently, and that's why I was interested to hear your thoughts out there because, as I said, I just couldn't make a case for Tyson Fury winning that fight at all. But obviously, you've seen it a little bit different. You have obviously got Usyk winning, but you had it 6-6. I had it 7-5. So I suppose when you look at it that way, it's only 1 round, but I just thought Usyk won clearly for me. All right, there's Carl. How you going there, mate? How good was that undisputed fight? Talk about a fight of two halves. It certainly was, wasn't it? And again, I thought after 6 rounds that Tyson Fury was going to stop Alexander Usyk. He seemed like he was spearing that jab out. Not to say he didn't do it for the first 2 rounds, but he punched sparingly in the first 2. He still was popping the jab. He had beautiful foot movement. I think he actually looked the best I've seen him since those two, the second and the third Wilder fights. I think he actually looked better yesterday than what he did in those fights. I thought he was on his toes. He was snapping that jab out there. He's looking sharp. And Usyk was really struggling to go with him. And as I said, those first 2 rounds, the only reason I gave him to Usyk because he was pushing the pace, he was throwing more power punches, and Tyson was a bit more on the back foot, not really throwing a lot of punches, but still looked really good. And then when he really kicked into gear in the 3rd through the 6th, again, I thought he was going to get Usyk out of there. I thought he was hurting Usyk to the body. I thought he was starting to land the right, I suppose, the right hook, little overhand right, whatever you want to call it, and really getting the better of Usyk, and he was starting to look gassed. And then all of a sudden in the 7th round, it changed again. Credit to Usyk, by the way, because he really dug in, just altered a couple of little things that he did. He didn't, probably the one thing I did notice is that rather than just try and hunt Fury down and keep it at arm's distance and allow Tyson to throw that jab very effectively, he closed the range a lot, not so by throwing punches, just more so with his movement, getting close, and then he would throw when in close. He wouldn't try and exchange from Tyson from long range and work into Tyson's his what do you call it, attributes, his advantages, and then he got himself back into it and started to tire Fury out, and then of course the 9th round, again, the whole fight flipped again. So, yeah, it was just a great fight, Carl. And as I said at the start, this is what you wish for when these big fights come about, because so often we've been disappointed, haven't we? Jai versus Marius Briedis. It was a banger. Jai lost the last couple of rounds. That's about it. Pretty clear victory. Yeah, it was. As I said, mate, I probably had an 8-4 tops for Opetaia or Jai. It could have been 9-3, maybe worst case 8-4, but a clear win. I think the actual scorecards was at 117, 111, and 116, 112 times 2. So a clear winner. I don't really know what all the fuss is about, to be honest, from a lot of people saying he's a hype job and this and that. I mean, yes, he didn't fight the way he should have in the last couple of rounds, but up until that point, it was an absolute shutout. So I think sometimes if you're not, look, let's just face it, out there, no matter how good you are, there's always the knockers out there. You just got to look at some of these forums online. I stay out of a lot of them, to be honest. But on the sites where you can actually comment, some of the shit that comes out of people's mouths, fair income. These guys clearly haven't been in the ring. That's probably the first thing. And what's the old adage? Probably live in their mother's basement, all that sort of stuff. But there's some really, I was going to say insecure, because that's definitely the way they are, but uneducated people out there that just have no idea, to be honest. And I think sometimes they almost do it just to be, what do they call it, a troll online. But either way, I just think people are taking too much out of it if they say that Jai's a hype job. Yep, he's got to work on a few things, but as I said, for that first 9 rounds, it was all Jai Opetaia. So, all right, now I think we're back on track here with the comments. What do you got there, Carl? Again, Navarrete looked terrible. Yeah, he did, didn't he? He was beaten by Dennis Berinchyk. I'm not sure whether everyone else watched it yesterday, but it was on Fox Sports yesterday afternoon, and it was a really good way to cap off the day. We'd all been up really early. I'm sure we're all struggling, but then to have that fight on. Look, it was an okay fight, I suppose. I know a lot of pundits, I suppose you want to call them, have said online that it was on the sites and pages and all the rest of it, that Berinchyk won nearly pretty much every round bar 1 or 2. I didn't have it that one-sided. I probably had it, worst case, 7-5. Probably 8-4 Berinchyk. I can't believe one of the judges actually gave it to Navarrete. It goes to show that in boxing there's always one peanut judge out there, isn't there? But the right man won, and what a couple of weeks for Ukraine boxing. 3 world titles, Usyk, Lomachenko, and now Berinchyk. So, yeah, it wasn't the greatest fight. It wasn't the worst fight, but it wasn't the greatest fight, Carl. But Navarrete did look terrible. And look, the one thing I've always thought with Navarrete that's always stuck out to me is that he's got to be the most unorthodox, uncoordinated fighter that I've ever seen. Well, one of them anyway. The guy is all over the place, but he's just so effective. And I think yesterday, Berinchyk, just with that nice, tidy, neat, that tight defense and style that Berinchyk had, he just didn't fall into Navarrete's trap, I suppose, and just boxed a very, very clever fight. And really, it was the absolute basics that won him the fight. As I said, nice and tight, just boxed really well, didn't get into exchanges with Navarrete, boxing from a distance, used his angles, used sharp, clean punches, and it got the job done. I think sometimes a lot of fighters get caught up in trading with Navarrete or getting in close with him, and that's when he does his best work. But yesterday, Berinchyk, he just gave him angles and gave him a different combination of patterns with his punches, and Navarrete had no answers. So good on Berinchyk for the trifecta. Yeah, the trifecta for the Ukrainians. Yeah, it was an awful fight, Glenn. As I said, it wasn't the worst, but it certainly wasn't the best. And when it's on a Sunday and you're looking for a lazy day, it was good just to have fights on. All right, Paul, what do you got there, mate? Loved the event. Just asking if it was only me, but when the main event started, we had nothing but glitching. Okay, had to stop watching, and we picked up another stream. The zone stream failed me at the end. Is that right? Yeah, well, that must be a common thing. I must admit, mate, for me, it was fine. I just watched it on my computer. I didn't watch. Is that what you watched it on there? No, well, I didn't. Whenever I put it on my TV, it's stop, start, circles going around, all that sort of stuff. So when I did the watch along yesterday morning, I just I've got 3 screens on my work computer, and that's what I did it on. And I just had it on the screen beside me, and it worked okay. No glitching, no anything. So if that's the case, maybe try it on your computer next time. But yeah, DAZN, it's one thing after another with those guys, isn't it? Glenn, I don't get people thinking the first 2 rounds were close. Clearly Usyk rounds. Yeah, well, I gave them to Usyk as well, Glenn. I don't think. Well, I'm probably one of ones that I thought it may be close-ish, but I thought Usyk definitely won the first 2 rounds. But again, I thought rounds 3 to 6 were all Fury. So let me know what you think here. Peter, watched the replay of the Fury fight today and had Usyk winning by 3 points with the knockdown. That's how I had it too, Peter. Colin, what do you got here? What was that? 1, 2, 3. Okay. 8, 9, which is a 10-8 round. 10, 12, Usyk. 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 for Fury, my eyes. 11 was close. So that would make 2, 4, 5. 4, yeah, okay, so 7 rounds to 5 with the knockdown. So, look, that seems to be the consensus anyway for everyone that thought Usyk won, was around the 115 to 112 mark. All right, Paul says watched it 3 times and had it 8 rounds to 4, plus Usyk had a knockdown. So you had it winning by 5 points. So you would have had it 116, 111. Okay. Jeez, it's all over the place here, isn't it? Carl says the judge that scored it for Fury had rounds. Okay, thanks, mate. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 12. So out of those, I gave Usyk 2. I did give Fury 4, 5, 6, and 7. I didn't give him round 12, maybe 11, but not 12. I gave that to Usyk. So you had it 2, 4, 6. So he had it. Okay, yeah, no, I definitely don't agree. I didn't give Fury 2 or 12. The others, probably other rounds I gave Fury. Glenn says, I actually thought Fury may have won the 12th. Okay, well, it was a closest round, Glenn. And I think it depends on how you score a fight. I like the technical aspect from Usyk. I didn't think he threw as many punches from memory, I think. I've got the right round. But I thought he was the more precise and more clean with his punches. I thought Tyson was a bit haphazard, throwing punches for the sake of it, doing a lot of clinching. I just thought Usyk did enough in that 12th round. But looking at that there, Carl, definitely had 4, 5, 6, and 7, and possibly 11. They're the rounds I would have had for Fury. The rest I gave to Usyk. Usyk's counter left hand has, what's that? Has a end point, is it? I'm not quite sure what that is there, mate. But the overhand left was working. It was either straight left to the body or over the top, and he just threw it beautifully. And those punches that he landed on Fury in the 9th round, wow. Credit to both guys. One by the combinations that Usyk was able to put together, but Tyson Fury, how he stayed up. I know he ended up crashing into the corner and taking the count, but how he didn't stay down after those punches, it was amazing because he got hit with some big shots. And again, I said this in my review yesterday, but For those that are saying the fight, well, I don't think the fight should have been stopped there. This is a heavyweight title fight, undisputed heavyweight title fight. You don't stop it because someone goes down for the first time. If Fury can get the benefit of the doubt against Wilder in that first fight, then he can get the benefit of the doubt. Yes, so take that one out of it. But those saying that it wasn't a knockdown, it was 100% a knockdown. The referee was 100% right. If the rope stops you from falling down, or the corner stops you from falling down, whatever it might be, if you're going down and something stops you, the referee will give you an 8 count. Okay, so the fact that he didn't actually hit the canvas has nothing to do with it. Because if the corner wasn't there, or the rope, whatever he fell into, if that wasn't there, he would have hit the deck. So that's what the referee has to go by. And look, a lot of states and countries and everything else are different in the way with the rules, whether it be the 3 knockdown rule, fighters can't be saved by the bell, standing 8, all that sort of stuff. While in Saudi Arabia, I'm not quite sure what it is over there, but clearly the referee, I think it's a universal thing, that one anyway, that if something stops you from falling down, like the corner or the ropes, it is a knockdown. So it was fully justified. Andrew says, Jai stock dropped. Hope it was just a bad night. Yeah, well, it's an interesting take on it, Andrew. As I said, I didn't sort of feel that way. I just thought it was a very good learning curve for him, and almost a very harsh learning curve for him. I'm not quite sure his stock dropped. I just think he just didn't react well to what happened and almost paid the price. And let's hope it's a learning point for him and it doesn't happen. If it happens in fights after this, then I'll 100% agree with you that maybe he's vulnerable and someone at some stage is going to get him out of there. But look, Marius Briedis is the only guy that's been able to rock Jai and almost have him out of there. So maybe it's, as they say, styles make fights. But I'm certainly not going to count Jai out just because he had a couple of bad rounds towards the end. But now it's up to him. If we see it again, might be a little bit of a different story. But for me, I just think he reacted the wrong way to what happened. Oh, thanks, Jake. Zinad, yeah. Thank you. That's who's fighting Bivol. Thank you. Carl says, typical IBF bullshit. Well, as I said, Carl, I mean, this is the one instance where you would hope that the sanctioning bodies, mainly the IBF here, say, look, it doesn't matter what has been agreed to or said by, look, we're going to leave the heavyweight title with Alexander Usyk. He's earned it, and it's good for the sport to have an undisputed heavyweight champion. It really is. And I would hope even that a Joshua or whoever it might be, because I think the plan is, when they strip Usyk, is to have Hrgović and Dubois fight, is it for the interim belt, and then fight Joshua for the full belt, something like that anyway. But either way, I think it's absolute bullshit. It really is. The guy has unified the division, and I'm not sure whether you've seen this either, guys. I was going to say has unified the division for the first time in 25 years. No, this is unifying it for the first time ever in the 4-belt era. There's been a lot said in the lead up to yesterday's fight that it was the second undisputed fight in the 4-belt era. That is wrong. This is the first time, because that first fight with Holyfield and Lewis was for the WBA, WBC, IBF, and IBO. Wasn't for the WBO belt. Vitaly Klitschko held that belt. If you don't believe me, look it up for yourself. In 1999, when the Lewis-Holyfield fight took place, Vitaly Klitschko held the WBO title and didn't lose it to any of those guys. So they fought for the IBO belt, not the WBO. So that, yes, they fought for 4 belts, but not the 4 belts. This is the first undisputed heavyweight championship fight in the 4-belt era. And if you don't know when the WBO came in, it was in 1988. So it's about 36 years ago. So this is the first undisputed heavyweight championship fight in 36 years. And I'm not quite sure what it was before then. I think we could probably go right back to maybe it was Ali Foreman or something like that, because after that, the IBF came in 1985. I remember Larry Holmes had the heavyweight title, defended it numerous times, lost it to Spinks. Actually, sorry, what am I thinking? The last undisputed heavyweight fight was, of course, Spinks and Tyson in 1988. And then it must have been 93 was when Holyfield took the belts off. 90 1990, Holyfield took the belt off Douglas, and then it went back and forth after that. So, but the WBO belt was not on the line in that Lewis-Holyfield fight. So I won't go back over the whole history in the 90s of the belts, but at the end of the day, Vitaly Klitschko had the WBO belt, and it was not fought for by Lewis and Holyfield. All right. Look what the IBF done to Bud and Jai. Yep, they did, mate. Stripped him. Absolute bullshit it is. So, as I said, normally I applaud the IBF for being strict, but I think they, again, just pick their targets, don't they? You certainly won't see, I don't think, the WBC and WBA and possibly WBO entering in the equation, but anything's possible with those guys as well. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe if the IBF does it, all the others will jump on. Who knows? All the fighters need to drop their IBF belts and make them go away. Yeah, well, if this continues, Peter, I would agree with that. Briedis gave Usyk his best fight to date. Again, people are forgetting that, Carl, that Briedis lost a very close decision to Usyk at cruiserweight. Andre Rodriguez, how you going there, mate? Good morning. Okay, so you're obviously over in the States, I'm gathering. Evening and or afternoon for many. I think, yeah, it's about 7:30 in the evening here in Australia, Andre, on Monday, May the 20th. Peter says, I heard today that Opetaia may have suffered concussion from the blow to the nose. Wouldn't surprise me at all, Peter. It was a pretty hard knock to the nose. And if you've never had your nose busted or even just been punched in the nose or headbutt or whatever, it's very, very painful, believe me. And it would not have been pleasant at all for Jai. Mutzi says, Jai went away from what was working for him and got drawn into a firefight. Hopefully he learns from it. Yep, that's 100% my opinion too, Mutzi. He just reacted the wrong way. Instead of trading with him, he should have just backed off, got his faculties back, taken a breath. He only had 3 rounds to get through. And really, Briedis wasn't in really any condition to really put it on Jai and chase him around the ring. He made it easy for Briedis by going to him, and all Briedis had to do was hold his ground and let him go, and that's what he did. And because Jai was suffering from the effects of what had happened, then he got tagged with a few. That's all it was. If he had to just box smart, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Shamrock 11, how you going there, mate? Evening, lads. IBF stripped both Jai and Usyk recently. Wouldn't you want the best fighter in the division representing your belt? Doesn't make sense to me. Exactly, mate. Well, why would the IBF in this, surely the powers that be at the IBF would sit around the little board table and go, is this really in the best interests of the division, the best interests of boxing, and the best interest for our organisation? Surely it would have to be no. Surely the IBF are going, geez, this is not going to look good. We've just got an undisputed heavyweight champion. In 2 weeks, we're going to strip him. Surely there's got to be someone in that organisation that says, hell no, not yet. Let's sit down with Alexander Usyk. Let's sit down with Eddie Hearn, who obviously takes care of Joshua. And I've got a feeling that the IBF want Joshua to have this belt. Now, I don't know why. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They're still all going to fight at one stage. Joshua will probably get a shot at some stage. If it's not against Usyk, if he decides to fight Fury again and then retire, it will be against Fury or someone else. I just don't see the sense doing it right now. If they can't come to terms, whatever it might be, wouldn't you think the worst case scenario might be is that they would say, okay, we'll let the rematch take place in October. Then, if you do not defend against whoever it is they put up, we're going to strip you. Okay, well, that's fine. You know where you stand. You might say, you know what, stick your belt, or okay, I understand, no drama. Canelo's about to face the same thing, apparently. Whether or not the IBF have the balls to do that, we'll see. But this William Skull, who no one's ever heard of, is being put forward as the mandatory challenger. And apparently, if Canelo doesn't fight him, he might get that stripped as well. So the IBF not winning over any fans at the moment, are they? Andrew, loved the Cordina fight. Hope there's a rematch. That was a beatdown, wasn't it? The Cordina fight. I was a bit of rap for Cordina, but Kasasi made him look pretty ordinary. I thought he battered him from pillar to post for pretty much the whole fight. I don't think Cordina was really in the fight, probably after about the 3rd round. So it was just a really good performance by Kasasi. I was surprised. I'd seen a little bit of him before, just bits and pieces here or there, and I thought Cordina would win that fight quite comfortably. But well done to Kasasi. A great performance by him. G'day, Kyle. What do you got there? I could sum up Briedis in 2 words: stubborn prick. I would love to see any cruiserweight take shots like Briedis did and remain standing. That's another good point, isn't it? Jai can punch. And he landed some really, really good shots on Briedis, and he kept coming. So I've got a feeling that Jai will be happy to see the end of, or the back of Briedis, to be honest, because he's just one of those fighters that I think they could fight 5 times, and it would be just the same fight 5 times over. All right. Thanks, Carl. You're going to send me the scorecards. Appreciate it. Yeah, because Mondays are always a busy day for me with my my business, so I don't really get a chance to look at a lot of the sites. But I'm sure it's all over the internet somewhere. Yep, good fight. I really like Kasase can punch. Yeah, geez, he put together some really good punches. And Cordina did okay to sort of take most of them, but geez, when he got going, Kasase and his endurance, he threw a lot of punches and just did not stop. And they were combination of power punches, which you don't sort of see a lot of. And yeah, just fought a very, very good fight, did Kasase. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You know, I can't pronounce these names. Kasase, whatever. Colin, I think Opetaia needs to concentrate on unifying the cruiserweight division before giving any thoughts to moving up. Not convinced his power is good enough for the heavyweight division at the moment either. Yeah, no, look, that's probably one thing that did come out of it yesterday, Colin. And look, that might be the one bit of silver lining in the whole thing. Maybe if Jai had got the shutout win yesterday, he would have thought, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to step up. Maybe what happened in those last 3 rounds will just make him sit back and go, yeah, no, I think I need a little bit longer to mature. He's only 28, so he's got plenty of time. I might need just a few more fights at cruiserweight just for the experience level. Maybe give my body a chance to start bulking up and start concentrating a bit more on the power punches. But I'm with you there, Colin. I wouldn't mind 2, if not 3 more fights minimum, I would think, for Jai to go. And look, it depends on what the other champions do. I think it'd be pretty hard for Jai to hang there with his IBF belt and make a couple of defenses. I think stay at cruiserweight if the other champions are keen to fight. And so far, they haven't really been that keen, have they? But if they are, concentrate on unifying the cruiserweight division. If they don't want to play ball, I would still maybe move up to heavyweight, but just be no rush. Do what Michael Spinks, well, he was in a little bit of rush. He had that one fight, Michael Spinks, but he built up the right way. Holyfield took his time sort of coming in. So what I would probably, and Usyk only had, 1 or 2, didn't he, before he fought Joshua. But I would think that Jai, that's the case. If you can't really get any big fights at cruiserweight and the other champions don't want to fight him, maybe go up, but just fight every sort of 3 or 4 months, but start with the journeyman and give your body a chance to fully develop and grow into a heavyweight frame. And as I said, concentrate on the power and strength and size and all that sort of stuff, and do it gradually, and then wait till you get to a really good, solid heavyweight, and then maybe step up. I wouldn't be just, I know Michael Spinks did it 40 years ago, whatever it was, against Holmes, but did it in 1 fight. I would just strongly suggest be against Jai sort of going from cruiserweight to those elite heavyweights just in one step. I think that would be a bad move. But look, he's got a good team behind him. I'm sure they're thinking about all these scenarios, and I'm sure they'll make the right decision. Bill and Smith is already talking about going to America to fight Zerto. Yep. Yeah, that's Ramirez, of course. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to fight Jai if I was one of those guys either, to be honest. But maybe he gets a rear paw. Not that he wants anything to do with Jai either. Maybe a Badu Jack, who hasn't really sort of said what he's doing either. So if Bill and Smith and Zerto Ramirez are out of the equation, I'm not quite sure there's that much left for Jai, to be honest. So, yep, Andrew Kasase, a very exciting fighter, that's for sure. All right, Colin, I think Opetaia, that's the one you just put up. Sorry about that. G'day, Andy. How you going there, mate? Yes, like and subscribe. Glenn, Jai needs to work on his inside game to really improve. He beats all the cruisers easy right now, but needs to add a number of things before considering a move to heavyweight. Yeah, I think I just covered most of those in, Glenn, but I'm in agreement there, mate. And he says, great fight. Congratulations, Alexander Usyk. Congratulations to all the winners, Jai, Kabial, and Kasase, etc., etc. Yeah, one thing I will say about about Alexander Usyk, how good was he in the press conference? I mean, this is a genuine, really nice guy, and just a very, very humble guy. Yeah, I know he's a beast when he gets in the ring, and he's just done so much. I mean, Olympic gold medalist, undisputed cruiserweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion, just hasn't lost. I think he only lost a handful of fights in the amateurs as well. But Then he gets to the press conference, has a laugh with the press in attendance. Got very emotional about his dad. Just a class guy. And then went back to his hotel room, probably had a shower and everything else, and then watched his countryman Berinchyk win the lightweight title, and was genuinely happy for his comrade. I suppose that's what they say over there. So, yeah, I'm just so happy for him. And look, apart from Tyson Fury's little outburst in the ring, no, maybe it wasn't an outburst, but it was that little one line about maybe the war in Ukraine maybe playing a part in the judges giving it to Usyk. I thought that was in bad taste, but apart from that, I thought he handled it okay. And look, of course he's going to say he won the fight. Of course he's going to say that. Deep down, I'm not sure whether he believes that, but judging by a lot of you guys and girls in the chat who thought it was very close, and I know a couple thought, I've seen a few that thought Fury won the fight. Maybe he genuinely does think he won the fight. But now he's going to have a chance to put the record straight and get another shot in October. Just excuse me there. I'm just going to put my hand there so I come back into focus. All right, Carl, I love getting on those channels and giving them a bit of what for. I've seen you on there, mate. I see Andy on there a fair bit. I see the Batman. I see you on there. This is all the other channels, of course. And I think it's great that you get around there, guys, and let your opinions be known. My favourite hobby is trolling PBC fanboys. They get a bit butthurt, don't they, mate? For sure. All right, Damien, exactly do a sparring night at your local boxing gym and see how many of the trolls rock up. 0, Damien. Bad Glenn, those PBC fanboys are a different breed. Yeah, you just look, as I said, are they fans? I don't know. Well, I suppose they are fans, but and you see it not just with boxing. You get on the football sites and everything else, and there's some real winners out there. There really are. And I'm not saying just because they don't agree with your opinions. I mean, everyone's got their own, or their right to their own opinion. That's cool. We get it on here all the time that people have different opinions. That's fine. But some of the absolute shit that comes out of their mouths, just as I said before, uneducated, just bullshit. So, but I don't know sometimes whether they're taking the piss or they're really just that stupid. I don't know. All right, Andrew. A lot of talk about Usyk being great, but would he beat Ali, Fraser, and Foreman? No. I love Fury, but he's very vulnerable. Look, that's the inevitable question to come up, Andrew. Maybe we might do one of our Wednesday night lives. This is the show where I always just have a topic or a dream fight or a list of something. It's just something different all the time where we can get on and discuss it. Maybe we've got to do an episode of where does Usyk stand in the scheme of things, and maybe we might do that in the next sort of week or so. Where does Usyk stand in boxing history? I did one a couple of months ago with Mike Tyson, which was very interesting. Where does Mike Tyson stand in world heavyweight boxing history? Because he polarizes so many people. Some say he's one of the greatest of all time. Others say he was overhyped and overrated and everything else. So that was a very interesting debate, that one. So maybe we've got to do the same with Usyk. Where does he rate in the heavyweight history? I got asked that a few times in the chat yesterday, and I really don't know. I mean, just off the top, would he beat Ali? This is Usyk we're talking about. No, I don't think so. Would he beat Fraser? No, I don't think he'd be strong enough to keep Fraser off. And would he beat Foreman? No, Foreman too big, too strong, punches way too hard. The master at cornering smaller fighters. So probably no. So there's 3 right there. So, but it's a good question though, Andrew. But I'm with you there. No, I don't think he beats those guys. And as for Fury, no, I don't think he beats any of those guys either. I think Ali would just simply outbox him. He'd outbox the boxer. Fury's a boxer. Ali would outbox him. I think Foreman would be, again, too big and strong. I think he'd probably have his best shot against Foreman, Tyson, Fury, because Foreman's very predictable, just comes at you. I would say he's a lot better, of course, than what Deontay Wilder is. And Deontay Wilder managed to put Fury down, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever it was, in their 3 fights. So I would think Foreman would get to him eventually. And Fraser, I just think with work rates coming in and under those long arms of Fury, cutting off the ring, I think his work rate alone would outwork Tyson Fury. So there's my picks just there anyway, mate. But look, we might do that. We might, and maybe throw Fury in the mix as well. Where do these 2 guys rate in heavyweight history? Good point there. All right, sorry, I'm a little bit behind there. I'll try and speed it up. Navarrete is a pure brawler, just blind aggression. I'd even back Kambosos against a fighter like that. Yeah, interesting one. Yeah, that would be a good fight. It would be a really good fight. Maybe the fact they've both had losses, maybe Navarrete, Kambosos makes a lot of sense. The loser pretty much says see you later, and the winner back in the hunt for another shot at a world title. So that would be a good fight, Kambosos and Navarrete. Just trying to think how that fight would go. Be interesting. Be very, very interesting fight, that one. Andy gave Usyk 1 and 2. Yep. Fury 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Usyk 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, 1, 15, 1. Well, I had it almost the same. I had Usyk 1 and 2. I gave Fury definitely 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 and 8. Close, but you've done there. You've given 1 to Fury, 1 to Usyk, so that's fine. 9, of course, big 1 to Usyk. I thought 11 was close and 12 to Usyk. So very, very similar scorecard to you, Andy. We ended up with the same score, 115, 112 for Usyk anyway. So, and Carl had exactly the same way. See, great minds think alike there, guys. Very technical battle of feints early. Yeah, it was. Look, I found it fascinating because the fight went exactly the opposite of what I thought it would go. I thought that Fury would come out hard. He'd go after Usyk, really try and rough him up early, try and really put his stamp of his size and his weight advantage and everything else. And I thought Usyk would be on the back foot boxing for those first few rounds. It was the opposite way. It was Fury on the back foot, jabbing, and Usyk hunting him down. So I was like, wow. Then when Fury took control from 3 to 5, and I think Andy might add 7 as well. Sorry, 8. Sorry, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You had at 7 as well. I thought, again, it turned the opposite way. But at the end of the day, again, I think we've heard it said in the last a lot in the last 24, 36 hours that the right man won in the end, which is all that matters. All right, Damien. Wilder brutally knocks out Zhang. Okay, this is the 5 and 5. Usyk Fury is delayed until December for a Munster card. I can't say Munster, Monster. I always get pulled up for that. I can't say Munster. It's got to be Monster. Usyk and Fury 2. Okay, and Joshua Wilder. Hang on, we'll go back there. So Usyk, Wilder brutally knocks out Zhang. Okay, yeah, all right, yep. Usyk Fury till December from Monster card with Usyk and Fury 2. Okay, well, geez, that'll be Joshua versus Wilder, plus the Turkey going crazy and putting Canelo Crawford also. Not sure they could put all those on that one card, Damien. That even for the Sheik, is he a Sheik? Turkey, we'll call him Turkey Al Shalar, what I think his name is. Even for him, I don't think he'd be able to warrant spending that amount of money. When you think Canelo would probably want 50 million just by himself to fight Crawford, so probably more, 50 or 60. You would think that Usyk and Fury will probably get 50 or 60 each. Joshua and Wilder will probably want 30 or 40 each. That's a lot of money there. And in a way, to get him out of Japan would probably want 15. So great way of thinking, though, Damien. Maybe they spread them out over a few cards. Who knows? Glenn doesn't agree. He says Zhang smokes Wilder. I think, I don't know, because Zhang, they both look so bad in the last fight. I don't even know what's going to happen here, Glenn. I could see Zhang stopping Wilder, because Wilder, for me, I've said it here before, and I'm trying to, if I can say it in the most respectful way, and I don't think there's any way of saying it respectfully, by the way. I just think Wilder, good on him for winning a version of the heavyweight title, but he has to be the most least talented, most uncoordinated heavyweight champion in history. I can't think of someone else. Maybe go back to the days of Jess Willard. I'm talking 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. So I just can't get past that. But Zhang on the other, and he looks so bad against Parker, by the way. But Zhang on the other hand, just like he was, what was he even doing against Parker? He barely threw a punch. He sort of come forward, but he didn't come forward. It was a shocking performance by Zhang. Shocking performance by Wilder. I can see Wilder knocking Zhang out, but I can also see Zhang stopping Wilder. So I don't know. And to be honest with you, Glenn, I really don't care at this stage. I think both of these guys, I think, are done. Who knows what happens in the heavyweight division, of course. And if Wilder beats Zhang, all of a sudden he's back. I think he surpasses or goes past Joseph Parker, as bad as that would be, because Wilder is a lot more attractive to the promoters and the fans than what Parker would be. So if he beats Zhang, all of a sudden he's back into the mix of the big four with Fury, Usyk, Joshua, and then Wilder. So it's amazing how quick it can turn. All right, Colin. Thought Fury's corner was a bit of a dog's breakfast. Sugar must be livid having John Fury screaming rubbish at his fighter whilst trying to give him directions. Yeah, I couldn't hear a lot during the fight, Colin, because I had to have it down because we were doing the watch along. But yeah, I could see. I think was he headbutting a stool at one stage or before the fight or whatever it was. And yeah, I would think if I was Sugar Hill, I would probably say to Tyson Fury, if you want me in your corner, then your dad has to be out. It's okay. Well, it's not really okay, but in the lead up with all the events and stuff, I mean, I don't think Sugar Hill would be too stressed about all that. It's not really in his domain. You know, he's concentrated on game plans and all that sort of stuff. But I would think that Sugar Hill would say, John, if Tyson wants you around in the lead up to the fight and everything else, well, that's your prerogative. But you're not in the corner. This is the corner. This is my corner. I'm the chief second. This is my little domain, and I don't want you here. That's what I'd be saying to John Fury. And then it will be a big decision for Tyson to make, because I've got no doubt John would say, well, he's my son and I'll do whatever the hell I want. That's when we could have some issues. All right, Carl, let's not forget, if anyone can recover from a knockdown, it's Fury. I was okay with the ref giving him the count and letting him continue. Yeah, I had no dramas whatsoever with it. Tasman fighters, can we expect an announcement this week? I probably think they want to get back and have a week or two off, Cole, to be honest. Been a tough campaign for the boys, hasn't it? And girls. Carl says, yep, Colin, John Fury is a typical boxing father who lives vicariously through his son. The guy couldn't fight for shit. Yeah, you haven't seen him fight, check him out on YouTube. He was a battler. Let's just say that. We'll be kind and call him a battler. Sika Mordo. All right. Everyone do yourselves a favour. Buy a basic projector from JB. Hi-Fi, you can stream DAZN, KO, and main event straight from it. Okay, glitch-free, never had a problem, equal to a 120-inch TV on the wall too. Well, there you go. I don't think they're overly expensive, are they, Mordo? I don't think. I did look at one of those. I got a little home theatre here at my house, and we looked at a projector. Ended up just going for the big TV. But yeah, they make them so much better these days. So yep, if you've got a few bucks spare, then do that. All right, Andy. Many say fight should have been stopped. No, I don't agree with that at all. I agreed with ref, give count, but allowed champion opportunity to go out like a champion. Fury was still able to continue and defend himself for the rest of the fight. Yeah, that's exactly. Not for 1 second, Andy, and you're obviously the same. Not for 1 second did I think they should have stopped the fight. Fury was rocked. He was hurt, and he went down, but he got up, and what was there, about 5 seconds or not even 5 seconds left in the round. I don't think he really got a flurry off after that, did he? I think the bell rang straight after that. So, and the referee would have known there was only a few seconds left, because they've got signals or whatever obviously they tap on the canvas and will do the clicker when there's 10 seconds to go. So he would have known there's only a few seconds left. He would know the history of Tyson Fury. Now, was he also the referee in the first Wilder fight? I think he might have been. But either way, he would know Tyson Fury, very durable, can take a punch, survived 3 wars with Wilder. I don't think it would have entered his mind either to stop the fight yesterday. I think, and glad he didn't, of course, but I think he made the right call. As I said, Andy, I didn't think for 1 second it should have been stopped. Not once. All right, Carl. For a guy with 22 fights, and he's undisputed in 2 divisions, he's pretty special. He is, mate. He's one special fighter. And he does, like, if you watch him fight, it's not like I watch him and think he doesn't really do anything great. Doesn't throw super great combinations. He hasn't got a great jab. He hasn't got great footwork. He's just one of those guys that just finds a way to win. And he does it so well. I don't think he's, looking at him, on the screen, of course, he's the most talented fighter of all time. But the guy's an Olympic gold medalist and 2-time undisputed world champion. So obviously he's doing something right. But I watched him yesterday thinking, what is he doing here that makes him so special? He just does everything so well. He does everything very, very well. Doesn't do anything spectacularly well, but he just does everything above average, and that is enough. And he's obviously got the will to win, the heart, and everything else, and the ability to change tactics during a fight, change tempo, all that sort of stuff. And a lot of that sort of stuff you cannot teach, and he's just the master. A bit like Lomachenko, of course, as well. So took the IBF 3 years to force a mandatory on Canelo. Make that make sense. I can't, mate. I give up. Scott Lindsay, how you going, Scott? What do you got there, mate? Champion mentality and words like that get thrown around a lot, but Usyk's ability to turn that fight around was genuinely the stuff of a legend. He was staring down the barrel after the 6th. Mate, couldn't agree more. And that's what I just said then. He was able to, after the 6th round, when he was in a bit of trouble, I thought he was down 4 rounds to 2. Looking down the barrel, Tyson Fury was looking ultra confident, ultra comfortable, and he just turned the tables and swung the fight back in his favour. And what a performance by Alexander Usyk. Just full respect. All right, Andy, you got a question. How do you rate Usyk with the all-time heavyweights? He's at least top 10 for me, but have to look closer for actual placings. All right. Well, I did touch on this a little bit earlier, mate, but look, if I'm going to look at it, we've already got Ali, Fraser, Foreman. This is Usyk we're talking about at the moment. I would have Holmes in front of him as well. I would have Joe Lewis in front of him. I would have Holyfield still in front of him. I know that might be contentious as well. I'd have Lennox Lewis still in front of him. And I think he'd almost be... Mate, I think he's gone past Mike Tyson now, because Mike had that 3 or 4 year run, but we just didn't see anywhere near prime Mike Tyson after his early 20s. And can you believe that? He hadn't even reached his peak and he was done with Mike Tyson. Just scary. But anyway, so I would probably have him 9th or 10th, I'm thinking, Andy. Yeah, I'd have to have a good look at the other champions around, of course, but I'd have him in front of Marciano and Liston and Patterson and these types of guys. Yeah. Yep. So maybe 9th or 10th, somewhere around there. I got Usyk up there, only 22 fights, and he's the best at 2 divisions. Yep. There's Jules. How you going there, mates? Evening all. Reed Jai. Great opportunity to win back his title, add another elite name to the resume, and learn plenty of lessons along the way. Briedis still the hardest fight in the division. Yep, I agree there, mate. It's questionable, though, how Errol Spence was able to hold his IBF belt without defending for so long. Good point, Andy. In saying that, Usyk about to lose IBF if Fury rematch happens, apparently. Yep, we've touched on that. Rowan, how you going, mate? Hey, Lyndon, chat. Cool looking studio you have going. Good to watch live. Thanks, mate. Well, the sign you see here, it's a little bit unfortunate. It does actually light up. The problem is with these new cameras that you get these days, any light going back at the camera and it's just a blur. So I've had to actually turn it off. So a little bit disappointing, but I've got a couple of other things going up there soon, mate. But thank you to my lovely wife, Tara, who's put me together a very professional studio here. So it's really good. All right. Andy, decorated amateurs, Olympic gold, add to Usyk resume too. Yeah, he's done it all. He's literally done it all. All right. Jules, Ring now have Usyk number 1 pound for pound, and I think they have a point. No one else giving away same size advantage as Usyk did versus Fury. Regardless of rematch, all questions re Usyk have been answered for mine. Yep, I agree. Now, the pound for pound situation. Oh, look, this is so hard. Look, I had Crawford and Inoue, but look, Crawford, as good as he looked against Spence, and he's obviously got the runs on the board, very, very inactive. Hasn't fought for nearly a year now. I think Inoue's probably had 3 fights in that time. Usyk's probably had a couple of fights in that time as well. I think the time might be to slip Crawford back. And to his credit as well, I think he even flagged out as well that he recognises that Usyk is now in the conversation and he welcomes that. So good on Bud. I'm going to go out in a little bit of a limb and say that Inoue for me now is number 1. Usyk is number 2, and Crawford for me slips to number 3. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some comments in a second there, but for me, yeah, I think because you've got to remember also, Inoue, was he 4-division world champion in, what's it, 2, if not 3 of those divisions, at least 2, undisputed champion as well, moving up in weight. So I think the same rules apply to Inoue as they do to Usyk, whether Usyk's had the better level of competition. Obviously, he's beaten Joshua and Fury. And not that Dubois probably in the mix of those really good heavyweights, but Joshua and Fury, argue the two best heavyweights of the generation up until this point, and Usyk has beaten both of them. But straight off the cuff, I think Jules, for me, in a way, number 1, Usyk number 2, and Terence Crawford, for me, drops to number 3. All right, Kyle, Jai should stay at cruiserweight for at least 2 more years. A lot of money to be made at heavyweight, though, Kyle. There's work to be done here, and he's pretty short for a heavyweight. Then again, so is Usyk. Well, he's got, for me, exactly the same scenario as Usyk, I think. He's a southpaw as well, same size, dimensions. I think he'll carry the heavyweight limit pretty well, Jai. So I think, I wouldn't say 2 years, but maybe at least 12 to 18 months. I'm probably thinking get another 2, maybe 3 fights, and then look at it. But again, as I said earlier, if no one will fight him, no other champions or whatever, go to heavyweight, but just start a little bit outside the top 10 or 12 first, and then work your way up. Maybe have 2 or 3 fights at the weight, and then look at a top 10 heavyweight. Ajit Kabayar versus Effie Jugbar next. Anyone there? That'd be a good fight, that one. He looked good yesterday, didn't he, Kabayal, whatever it is. AJ versus Hergovich. Dubois, winner, likely for stripped IBF belt next. And just talk about paper champions, Andy. That would be it. Whoever wins that IBF belt surely cannot have the nerve to hold it up above their head in the ring after the fight and call themselves the heavyweight champion. All right. Let's see some comments as far as the heavyweights go. I've been expecting this. All right. Ali Johnson. Okay, so Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, Joe Lewis, Rocky Marciano. I cannot agree with Marciano, Andrew. Straight off the bat, I'm sorry. George Foreman, Joe Fraser, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis, Jack Dempsey. I can't agree with Jack Dempsey either, mate. I'm sorry. Or Sonny Liston. I'd probably have Tunney ahead of all those. And I'll just quickly, I know this is not the forum for it, but I don't put Marciano in there because he didn't have, and not his fault, by the way, never had a legacy fight. Joe Lewis, Ezard Charles, Jersey Joe Walcott, no. Both, or all 3 of them in the very late 30s, 38, 39, whatever it might have been, way past their point. And it's not Rocky's fault, by the way, but I just think the other great heavyweights in history would have just eaten him, I think. I shudder to think what guys like Lewis and Fraser and Foreman and Tyson would have done to Marciano. I just think it would have been scary. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I'm sure there'll be others that will agree with you. And Jack Dempsey, I don't know. I think he's a great guy. He's got a legacy, and this is always fraught with danger. By the way, guys, I know this is really treading in a fine area here, but who did Jack Dempsey ever beat? He had a bit of a reign of terror, but was outclassed by Gene Tunney twice in probably his only really big fights that he ever had. So I think he's probably a bit like Liston. He beat Floyd Patterson twice. Who else did he beat? So I think a lot of these fighters the legend has grown through history. And, I just don't see, and again, everyone's a little bit different, but I just wouldn't have Liston, Dempsey, or Marciano anywhere near the top 10 of all time, especially when you've got guys like Jack Johnson, Muhammad Ali, Joe Lewis, Foreman, Fraser, all the Holmes, all the rest of them. And I would have Tyson close to that as well. So just my opinion, mate, but everyone's entitled to their own. All right. And I would have Usyk in front of Marciano, Liston, and Dempsey, by the way. I'm sure this will cause some controversy. Can't wait until this hits the comments. Where Usyk, all class in and out of the ring, family man, proud Ukrainian. Only people that have a problem are likely fanboys of fighters he's whooped. Yep, it's always the way, Jules. Sorry, Andy, that was. On to Jules. Where does the fight rank for you? Haney versus Lomachenko lives in my mind as arguably the most skillful fight I've seen. This one right up there for me is a proper Hall of Fame fight. Good question there, Jules. Look, I was live for Haney Lomachenko, and I'm with you. I've never seen a more technically skillful fight on the day. It was, and I know there's some fans, this is boring, whatever. It was a brilliant fight to watch technically. To see both of those guys playing a chess match in the ring, it was just brilliant to watch. I still think Lomachenko won. However, it was close enough that I got no dramas that Haney got the decision, but I thought Lomachenko won. But I'm with you there, mate. I think it was the most skillful fight I've seen. But this one, as far as heavyweight fights goes, look, I don't think it was technically one of the best fights ever. I just think for the drama involved, the fact it was for the undisputed heavyweight title was obviously a big thing. But I look back at fights like Holyfield and Bowe and Lewis Holyfield and, well, Holyfield versus anyone really, Holyfield Tyson. They were just epic fights. But for me, this was full of drama. But I wouldn't put this in the same category as some of those other fights. However, the fact that it was the undisputed title, with back and forth momentum and everything else, what more could you ask for? Glenn says, Loma was skillful, Haney just too big. Watch for Tony McCallum if you want real skill. There's another one. So, look, there's so many fights. It probably, you probably just can't put it down to one. I remember even watching the first Leonard Hearns fight. Same thing, just brilliant boxers, both of them. Even I was going to say Leonard Duran won, but Sugar Ray just fought a really bad fight that night. Love Duran, but Sugar Ray, what were you thinking trying to slug with Duran? Silly move. But look, I'm sure we all have our own definitions of skillful and everything else. But I think there's been better fights out there, that's for sure. But it's just everyone's got different tastes. That's all. Some people love the slugfest, some like the chess matches. But I don't think we can really settle on one. There's just so many. All right, Tommy, if Tim Tszyu beats Virgil Ortiz, will he take the #1 spot for best Australian active fighter? Well, now you're talking, Tommy. All right, so if Jai doesn't fight before August 3rd, I think it is, which he probably won't. He'll probably want to heal and everything else. And Tim beats Ortiz. If Tim beats Ortiz, I'm going to put him at #1. And I know that's going to be right against the grain with a lot of you people watching live or later or listening on Spotify after the fact. I think a little bit of the vulnerability that Jai showed yesterday, and again, I'm not dwelling on it too much. I've been over why I think that way. I just think that Tim, I think his level of competition has been better, especially now he's going to fight Ortiz. I think his level of opposition has been better. I think he's performed better against that opposition. I think you can put an asterisk beside Fundora. I think we all agree with that. But if he beats Ortiz, who's just a young killer, I'm going to put Tim Tszyu at #1 in the Australian pound for pound. I know some will disagree, but I just saw a little bit yesterday with Jai that just makes me think just to put just a bit of a touch the brakes just a little bit for now. I think Tim's just a little bit further down the track, and if he can beat Virgil Ortiz, I think he goes back to #1. Look, having said that, if Jai had to finish the fight yesterday the way he spent the first 9 rounds, well, I think would still say Jai. But just even with the circumstances, the fact that Jai just didn't really handle the occasion that well in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, just put a little asterisk beside him for me. And I would think that the quality of the opponent with Virgil Ortiz would just be enough to get him past Jai. But I know it's arguable, and I know there'll be some of you out there that will disagree. But that's why we have these conversations, isn't it? What's that, Glenn? Caballero is very, very good, gets fundamentals and mindset. He's a very good fighter, mate. Andy says, people need to realise Usyk has Ali dimensions. Usyk is a beast in his own right. In my opinion, yep. What's the FR, mate? What does that mean? Whatever it is. But he does have the same dimensions. I know they were a lot smaller back in the day, unless they were someone like George Foreman. But, yeah, look, I think the test for Usyk and even the Furies and Joshua's and those types of fighters, I think the test will come in 20 to 30 years when they're long retired, long gone, how they're viewed. Because as I said before, the thing with a lot of those other heavyweights in history, not just heavyweights, but all fighters, they get better over time. And we're all guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it. No one would have touched Jeff Fenech back in the day. Well, that's just probably wrong. I mean, some of the fight, and in a way, I know I would back Jeff Fenech, but you know what I mean? Like, I would dig my heels in about Fenech, probably knowing full well that in a way we'll probably have him covered. And I know that goes against what my prediction was, but I've had a couple more fights watching in a way, and he's just something else, isn't he? But yeah, as I said, I think these fighters get better over the journey, and they get better and better as the years go by. And I think Usyk, I don't think he'll be probably given the level of respect he deserves until maybe 20 years time. Hopefully before. Let's see. All right, Tommy. Guys like Shavers, Ruddick, Ron Lyle, David Tour, I think would be the class of the heavyweights today. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing we're to look at. I think the pool of heavyweights these days, even though it's been better than when the Klitschko's were ruling the division, that was probably the worst time in heavyweight history. for heavyweight contenders when the two brothers had the belts. That was just a shocking time for heavyweight boxing back then. But now to have Usyk, Fury, and Joshua, and before that we had Wilder and throw a few others in there. Of course, we've had some good fighters in there. But I'm with you. Like, I still think it's still a little bit shallow. I mean, look back on the day when guys went, like you said, there, Shavers, Ruddock, Ron Lyle, and they were guys that were all sort of fringe sort of contenders, never won a world title, any of them. But geez, they were all good in their own way, and would have, you know, they're just born in the wrong areas, unfortunately. You says Kambosos and Navarrete makes perfect sense. I love the fight. Both had really disappointing losses for vacant belts. Who else? Unless it's Shakur, well, he's got the WBC belt, hasn't he? Shakur Stevenson. I was going to say, if he just moved up, he could have picked one of those guys as, you know, to fight. Shakur Stevenson will obviously aim for someone a bit bigger, maybe the Berinchyks and Davises and these types of guys. But outside of that, Kambosos and Navarrete makes perfect sense. 100% perfect sense. Both, Navarrete is promoted by Top Rank. Kambosos is by association. He's with Luda Bella as well. Makes a lot of sense. I like that fight. Kyle. Premier Boxing Series. Okay, I did say that Team Ellis is doing that on June 19th. The 7+ platform is blowing up. Hopefully more promoters jump on the bandwagon. Well, what's I think's going to happen with that, Kyle? I actually had a good conversation with Enzo DiCarlo over in Perth a couple of weeks ago, and didn't really touch too much on this, but he did say obviously he's stepping back. And I think what's going to happen now is that the Premier Boxing Series will be outsourced to, I would say, someone different in each state, although this is obviously Victoria, the next one. But I would love to see Wildfighter have a crack. I'd love to see maybe Dragonfire have a crack over in Perth. Love to see maybe, it won't be Tasman. Who would it be in Queensland? It's probably not really that many promoters left up there, is there? But anyway, just to farm it out all over the nation makes a lot of sense. And the card on June 19th actually looks quite solid as well. I think it is it Mitch Leake, isn't it, in the main event? So, and I see Matt Sheehan is on there against Lucas Miller. That'll be a good fight as well. So, all right, Usyk also has the same birthday as Ali. That's mad Chad voice. That's pretty crazy. That is for sure. All right, Fury showboating constantly all fight was a bit excessive. I was glad Usyk wiped that smirk off his face in the 9th round. Well, he certainly almost knocked it off, didn't he? Could we see Joseph Goodall, Hemi Ohio next, or Ohio? Possibly. The only problem with that, though, Kyle, is who they're aligned to. No Limit would probably have to do it if it's going to be in Australia, because I doubt we'd have in the near future another, like a Top Rank or Luda Bella or one of those promoters come into Australia. And I know Joseph Goodall's fought on a few international Top Rank cards, and Ohio has fought on the ones that have been here. But yeah, maybe No Limit could get a hold of that one for sure. But yeah, that'd be a good fight. Judging by the last fights, it'd be pretty explosive. I'm not sure who I'd probably tip in that one, to be honest. Damien, yeah, that June 19 fight will be on 7+, mate. Yep, for sure. All right, Andrew, he agrees with Tommy. The top 10 of early 70s was awesome. Ali, Fraser, Foreman, Norton, Lyle, Quarry, Shavers, Alice, Young, and Bugner. Can't get much better than that, Andrew. We had some great fights, didn't we? Yep, back in the day. And then, look, it probably spilled over a little bit for me when Larry Holmes won the title in 78 over Ken Norton. I think up until the mid-80s, I thought it was actually quite good. And then Mike Tyson came and just bulldozed everyone and just ripped the path through it. But then, of course, we had Bo, Holyfield, Lewis, Razor Ruddock, all those guys that were around. So I used to like, Tony Tubbs. Who was it? Tony Tucker. Of course, Buster Douglas. So I think that was okay. It was after the Lewis Holyfield type of peak era. That's when the Klitschko's obviously won the titles, and that's where we just had a dismal decade under the Klitschko. So, but I think now it's okay, but nowhere near as good as the 70s and 80s and 90s for me. Frank Sanchez looked like a 50-year-old retired bodybuilder. He didn't he? He looked shocking for someone that was supposed to be, an up-and-coming heavyweight contender. He looked very, very ordinary, Frank Sanchez, and got stopped, and now he's got to rebuild. All right. I'll get through the comments there. Hang on. Talking amongst yourselves. That's cool. All right, Tommy. It was cool to see Holyfield meeting Usyk before the fight. You could see how excited Usyk was. I loved it. And I thought when I saw that picture, Tommy, how good would it be to do a dream fight between those two? And would it be at cruiserweight or at heavyweight? I'm going to go for heavyweight. Or maybe we do both. Who wins at cruiserweight and who wins at heavyweight? That would be a great fight. And I'm just trying to think how I would have it. It would be a great fight. Look, I'd have to analyse it a bit more, I think, and have a good think about it. But what a fight that would be. Evander Holyfield and Alexander Usyk, dream fight. Wow, crazy. But you're right, though, Tommy. He was excited, wasn't he, Usyk? And that's why he's such a great guy. He's the undisputed heavyweight champion, and he gets all fanboyed by seeing Evander Holyfield. It was just great. All right, Carl. The ref of the Fury Usyk fight was a ref of Pac-Man and Horn. Yeah, he was. He was. Mark Nelson. Tommy, Kovalev power didn't translate to cruiserweight, plus he looks so washed. Yeah, I don't know why he was on the card, Tommy. Obviously, I don't think it was the connection with Usyk, because obviously he's Russian and Usyk's Ukrainian, and I'm not quite sure. He's been inactive, especially hasn't fought at cruiserweight. I'm not quite sure what the go was there, mate. Why he was even on the card, but he looked really bad. He looked really bad. He should retire, 100%. Best heavyweight of this era, hands down. Sorry, which one are you talking about there, Carl? Of this era? Yeah, Usyk. Yeah, 100%. And as I said, mate, the fact that we've had Joshua and Fury and well, I'm not going to put Wilder in there, but Fury and Joshua in this generation. I suppose you can throw Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko in there as well. I suppose, is that this era or last era, whatever it might be, but definitely the best of this era. But the top echelon of heavyweight contenders is I think as good as it's been for a long, long time. To have Fury, Joshua, and Usyk and Wilder for a certain amount of time as well, almost like the big four. We wouldn't go so far as to call them the four kings, of course, but has been a good era recently, although the underbelly's not so great, but the top of the tree has been very entertaining. You throw in good fighters like Joseph Parker and Zhang, and well, there's Zhang part of it, but yeah, definitely Joseph Parker and Andrew Ruiz and these types of guys. Andrew Ruiz could have been a lot better. He's just lazy and fat and just a waste as far as I go. All right, Jules, Usyk's mentality is elite. That should count as a skill. Yep. I think everyone judges it a little bit differently, Jules, but no, you're right there, mate. Yes, I like this one. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, 2. Who do you have? Billy fights this weekend also. I'm going to go for... Oh, it's a tough one, Tommy. I'm going to go for Josh Taylor to repeat the dose, to get the decision this time. Although he didn't look great against Teofimo Lopez, did he? But I'm going to go for Josh Taylor. That wouldn't surprise me if Catterall won, but I'm going to go for Josh Taylor in another close fight. Yes, Carl, Kovalev is done. Put a fork in him. I agree, mate. All right, JYD. Do you think every other boxer should call it a day? No, what's that? Do you think every other boxer should call it a day? No beating Usyk, however, I believe Tyson threw it away. I don't think they should all call it a day, obviously, JYD, but no beating Usyk, however, I believe Tyson threw it. Oh, okay, this is Tyson Fury, of course. Oh, yeah, I don't think, well, the Fury side of things is really interesting, mate. I think he can definitely beat Alexander Usyk in the rematch. I'll say that now. Although Usyk could adjust even better. Now he's had a good look at Fury. Maybe he makes it an even easier fight next time. But I definitely think that Tyson Fury can beat Usyk. I don't think it was that type of fight where you would say, well, Usyk's the clear number one. I just think he got the better of it when he needed to yesterday. But for those 4 rounds where Tyson Fury really showed his wares, I thought he was all over Usyk and really, as I said before, I thought he was going to stop Usyk at one stage. So definitely capable of beating Usyk. He just needs to fight the right fight, I think, for longer. I think he did showboat a bit too much early for me. Look, a lot of people thinking that was cocky or whatever. I think he just was struggling to sort of work out Usyk early, and fighters react a little bit differently when they're a bit frustrated. I think Fury did the showboating because he was frustrated and just couldn't work out Usyk early. But look, I definitely think Fury is capable of beating Usyk, JYD. So I suppose hopefully we get an opportunity to see that in October. Yep, sack John Fury rather than Sugar. Yep, exactly, mate. All right, Damien, actually finally releasing that boxing game on consoles for the first time in like 14 years. I did see something about that, Damien. It must have been I'm not really a video game player, but I know they haven't done one for quite some time. All right, Andy, what do you got there, mate? Nah, ref in first, Wilder first. Oh, okay, versus Fury was Jack Reese. Okay. Yeah, I just had it in my head. It was Mark Nelson. He did a super job too when Fury rose from the dead, pushing off Fury's hands and assessing him properly. Thought Reese would get rematch for sure, but no. Yeah, well, I think again I said yesterday in the watch along there, Andy. I do applaud that referee in the first Fury and Wilder fight because I don't think it was a big knockdown at all. It looked like it was a big knockdown, but you can see that the sort of right hand just sort of makes Tyson Fury just bend over slightly, and then the left hook was more momentum and pushed him back. It wasn't a massive punch that forced him back. It was just momentum. So I don't think Fury was really hurt, like badly hurt and rocked like it probably looked on TV. I think he had his faculties about him. Yeah, it would have hurt, but I think he would have had his faculties about him, and he got up and survived the round, and obviously that was the draw. So, but yeah, the way he refereed that fight perfectly, Andy, and you're right. I haven't really seen much of him since in those big fights, have we? I reckon Tyson's nose was gone in the first. Okay, I didn't notice that. Jai can pop up to Bridger and fight Babbage. Yeah, well, that's the thing. We haven't really thought about the Bridger weight, but I don't know. If you're going to go to Bridger weight, wouldn't you just keep going up to heavyweight? I don't know. To be pound for pound, you have to do it home and away. Well, no one's done it better than Alexander Usyk, Andrew. In a way, he's had a couple of outside of Japan, but mainly, of course, probably 95% in Japan. Terence Crawford fought all his fights, or bar one, he fought in England, I think, at one stage, didn't he? So, in the States, well, if that's, yeah, look, I suppose you could probably make that part of your criteria, Andrew. He's fought in a lot of people's backyards as Usyk, so if that's your criteria, well, I wouldn't argue with that, Andrew. If you had Usyk number one, I'm certainly not going to argue. But I just think in a way, at this stage, and Bud Crawford has to get a very, very impressive performance over Madrimov in August. But I think for now, almost all that really good work he did by beating Spencer's, I won't say it's forgotten, but it's almost like yesterday's news because there's been so many big fights since then. And he hasn't really done himself any favours by not taking a really big fight. I know he probably would have wanted Tim. But the Madrimov fight, as fight fans, I think we all like it as a fight, but is it a big fight? I don't think so. And he says, Usyk, number one. Surpassing now number two in a way and 3 Bud. Yeah, so just the 1 and 2 around. That's cool. Weight and size difference between Usyk and Fury warrants comparison. Yep, and the home and away factor as well, mate. Yep, good call. My all-time great heavyweights, as mentioned on previous shows. All right, what do we got? Lewis 1, Ali 2, Holmes 3, Foreman 4, Lewis 5. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you put Larry Holmes at number 3, Andy, because I think I had him. I think I had it the other way around. I think I had Ali 1, Lewis 2, Holmes 3. Foreman, yeah, I think the fact that he won the title at, 44 years of age, whatever hell it was, 45, whatever it was, in his second career, definitely warrants him being in the top 4 or 5. And Lennox Lewis, yep, I'm just trying to think. You could probably make a case for Fraser, probably not so much Holyfield, because of course Lennox, he had the draw, but it was disputed, the 2 fights with Holyfield. It's not a bad call at all, mate. I wouldn't argue with any of that. Lennox Lewis has to be right up there. Who beats him? Yeah, well, the only thing I'll say with that, mate, is that I'm not counting the Tyson fight. Tyson was well and truly cooked and done by then. I know you can only beat who they put in front of you, and most champions are guilty of beating up former champions. I get that. The Holyfield fights, yeah, but again, the size difference is massive. I would have loved to have seen Lewis fight Riddick Bowe. That would have been a great fight. I would have tipped Lewis to win that fight. He beat the best of his generation, didn't he? He really did. But yeah, look, I'm probably going to agree with Andrew or Andy here and say that Lewis at 5, maybe 6 in the all-time heavyweights. I still think Lewis, Ali, Holmes, and Foreman I would still have in front of him. But good argument for him at 5, maybe 6, something like that. And Damien, I'm certainly not going to respond to that, mate. Go the Bombers. Usyk ahead of Marciano. Italians throwing themselves off roofs. Horse's head for Lynden. Yeah, well, mate, I stand by it. Look, all I would say is, look, go get away from the historical significance of Rocky Marciano. He's a much-loved fighter. It's nothing personal against Rocky. I mean, I love Rocky Marciano. As a fighter, one of the best we've had, but you got to compare the records, Andrew. Lewis, Charles, and Walcott. Sorry, that just doesn't, they were all in the prime. I mean, Joe Lewis was 10 years younger. Well, maybe, but he wasn't. Well and truly past his peak. Charles and Walcott, way past their peak, and that's it. Usyk's won 2 undisputed heavyweight champions and beat the 2 best heavyweights of his era, well, 3 times if you put them all together, Joshua twice and Fury. I just don't think Marciano had any legacy fights, and now Usyk's had 2. Well, 3, sorry. The 2 Joshua fights and the Fury fight. 3 legacy fights. That's just at heavyweight. That's what we're talking about here. Rocky Marciano didn't have a legacy fight. It's as simple as that. Lennox Lewis had legacy fights. All of them. And I suppose arguably even Joe Lewis, but he had 25 title defenses. Larry Holmes, he had 20-something defenses as well. So I'm sorry, I just don't put Rocky Marciano in the conversation at all. And if you want to just pit them head-to-head, as I said before, I think guys like Fraser and Foreman and Tyson and those types of guys, a prime Joe Lewis would have made absolute mincemeat of him. And I know I'm just looking for the horse's head in the bed in a minute. I'm sure that's coming, but that's just the way I see it. Not to say he wasn't great for the sport. I'm not going to call him a great champion, though, because I just don't think he was. Very, very good champion, but just didn't have legacy fights. How can you judge anyone from any era, any division, whatever it might be, if they haven't had legacy fights? You're going by speculation. And unfortunately, it's not Rocky's fault. He didn't have legacy opponents out there, but that's just the facts of the matter. Oh, sorry. So FR, for real. Okay, sorry, mate. I'm showing my age there. All right, Jules, got to remember, Jai's only 28. Yep, he's learning on the job against some of the best fighters on the planet. Not bad when you can learn and still take out a killer like Briedis. Yep, couldn't agree more there, Jules. Damien, couldn't agree more with Tim. Will be number 1 for sure if he beats Virgil. Nice to see David Nieka rack another win. Hope he keeps active. I didn't see that fight, mate. It was a little bit early for me, unfortunately. I wasn't up till around 5. I think it was on before that, so I missed that one, sorry. What did you think of Nieka's performance? Of course, on cue. Didn't see it. Walked out to an Aussie flag. Must have been a mix-up by the... It must have been. It was obviously a Kiwi, and a proud Kiwi. That's a bad mistake if that is the case. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, obviously I'm a patriotic Aussie, but I wouldn't want to walk out and someone had a New Zealand flag. Or no disrespect to the Kiwis, but you are who you are. So, yeah, it must have been a mistake, Jules. He's based in Australia now. Didn't see the flag. Yeah, okay. Well, he might be based here, but he's still a Kiwi. I'm sure he's Kiwi at heart. Jai, number 1 Australian pound for pound for me. Current belt holder, champion. Yep. If Jai unifies, he cements his place on top, in my opinion. If Tim beats Virgil, then Madrimov Bud winner. Then he's take over as number 1 again. Yeah. Well, if he beats Ortiz, of course, he'll be world champion as well. And as I said before, I just think his level of competition, his performance against that competition just surpasses Jai at this stage. Isn't it amazing how you can have just 3 rounds out of a fight and all of a sudden you've got people doubting your credentials? So I apologise to Jai. I think he's an awesome guy, awesome talent. But my gut feel would say that if Tim beats Virgil Ortiz impressively, then he gets number 1. But, mate, certainly not going to disagree with your opinion either. Yeah. I was waiting for this one. Ruiz lazy and fat, still managed to become heavyweight champ. Yeah, no, he did, mate. He did. Joseph Parker deserves mention in upper tier heavyweights, in my opinion. Dude, ex-champ who has fought more than most up there in this modern crop of heavyweights. Yeah, that's why I said before, Andy probably should be in the mix of the modern day elite fighters, I suppose. I know he's lost. Well, who he lost to? Anthony Joshua and Joe Joyce was the other one. But since then, he's come back and beat Zhang and Wilder. So deserves. I just worry about Joe, Andy. Will he get another crack at the world title? You've got Usyk and Fury later in the year. You're going to have Joshua and Hrgovic and Dubois doing their thing. And then, of course, the winners will fight. I mean, is he going to get another crack? He deserves one. I'm just not sure he's going to get one. Let's hope I'm wrong. What is this? I don't watch your daily, but I just want to say Ryan Garcia is the greatest of all time. There's always a couple out there that... are you joking? I hope you're joking there. Himothy? Is it BTG Himothy? I'm hoping you are joking there, mate. But that's your opinion. All the best to you. All right, Jay, just jumped on. Have you mentioned Usyk reportedly getting stripped in 2 weeks? Yes, we do. Or we have, mate. Ridiculous doubt Fury would rematch for 3 belts. Well, that's the other question. Well, first of all there, Jay, yeah, we have spoken about the IBF. You're right. Well, I think it wouldn't really worry Fury too much, Jay, because I think he knows that if he beats Usyk in the second fight, he'll be universally recognised as the real heavyweight champion. I think even Joshua or Hrgovic or Dubois would admit that as well. Then, of course, we get number 3, don't we, of Usyk. Well, what would happen there? What happens if if Tyson Fury beats Usyk in the second fight? What happens then? Do we get number 3? Is there a rematch clause for number 3? Or does Fury then fight Joshua? I would think no matter what's in place, Joshua and Fury would be next. It would have to be, surely. But maybe there's clauses in the contract. I'm not sure, but it'll be fascinating to see how it plays out. What's next for Jason and Andrew? Well, Andrew looks like he's getting the rematch with Guevara, Peter. He said he's been promised the rematch by Mauricio Sulaiman. He did say his team has they did speak to Sulaiman pretty much the day after the fight, I think. And apparently Mauricio Sulaiman promised him that he would get the rematch if all parties agreed on everything. So that's the first thing. And Guevara said in the ring he would grant the rematch. The next thing, of course, is the money side of things, who will be top ranked promoted, when it's going to be, all that sort of stuff. But that seems to be the course of action for Andrew, that fight will be next. And for Jason, there has been some whispers that he will go back to Japan for a fight in Japan. So let's just see about that. And good luck to him. He's at the stage of his career where it's about the payday. So if he gets a good payday for going and fighting a Japanese fighter in Japan, even though it's fraught with danger, we've seen that, I would take my hat off to him to go and do that rather than maybe either here in Australia or even the States for a smaller payday to work his way back up. Go to Japan, get the biggest fights that you can. But that seems to be what's next for the boys, Peter. All right. That's good. You agree 100% with my opinion regarding Usyk and Fury. Is there another boxer capable of beating Usyk, not including Fury? As I think he doesn't call it a day, he could win. Look, strangely enough, I think, and I don't think it'll come to this, by the way, because I think it'll be long gone. I'm thinking in a couple of years' time that Jai Opetaia could have the style to beat someone like Usyk. And I know that's people sort of falling off the chairs at the moment, but style-wise, I think if Jai had 3 or 4 good fights at heavyweight, it bulked up in the right way, really worked on those deficiencies, worked on his power, maybe a little bit on his stamina as well. I think, and Usyk, of course, would be 2 years older. Could happen. I think, to be honest with you, if I had to make a call, I would say that Usyk will fight Fury and call it a day after that. Maybe a third fight, but I don't think he'll fight anyone at this stage other than Tyson Fury. I think he'll give him his rematch in October. And maybe, look, even if he loses in October, I wouldn't be surprised if he said, well, so be it. It wasn't my day today. It is what it is. I've made a lot of money. I've got my legacy. I'm going home and being with my family. But worst case or best case, whatever way you want to say, I think he would fight Fury a third time if he loses. But I couldn't see him fighting anyone else. I don't think Joshua's capable of beating him. I don't think Hrgovic, Dubois has shown it, of course. I don't think Wilder is. I don't think Joseph Parker is. I think the only one capable is Jai Opetaia, and he's 2 years away. And as I said, I don't think it gets that far. All right. Someone had to bite. Ryan Garcia is a weirdo. Dude beat breaks off Dev, but blew weight and awaiting drug test B sample. Ryan still not a champion. Yeah, he's never fought for or won a world title, which is really surprising, isn't it? Ryan's still not a champion. If and when Ryan an official champ, he'll get more props then from me. Yeah, I'm sort of as weird as he is, and I certainly was disgusted by his comments about, in regards to George Kambosos. But Australians, all that aside, I think he's sort of good for the sport. I'm sort of hoping the B side comes back negative. I really do. I just would hate for that to take away from his win over Devin Haney. And even though I'm not his biggest fan, I'm hoping it comes back negative. Who wins, John Fury or Butterbean? Who's the other guy? Is it Egan? Is it Joel or John or whatever it is? Egan that called out John Fury over the weekend or last week. The fighter with the bare knuckles or whatever it is. I think I said it again yesterday. The cobbles. I love that term. I'm the best fighter on the cobbles, which is the rocks on the road, of course, in the English streets. I love it. Butterbean beats the brakes off John Fury. I don't think it'll take too much. Peter says Joshua isn't mentally strong enough to beat the best in Usyk. I agree, mate. If he hasn't beaten him the first 2 times, I don't think he's beaten him a third time. And I think everyone's been a little caught up in how good Joshua's looked in his last fight. Look at the opponents. He hasn't beaten much. And I'm not disrespecting Anthony Joshua. Probably a little bit like with Jai. He had those 2 fights and looked absolutely indestructible. Came up against an elite fighter and just struggled just a little bit in the later rounds. And I think Joshua would be the same. I think he looked great in his last 2 knockout wins. But I think the minute he gets back in with another elite heavyweight, you'll see. Well, that's where we'll see what he's got. And I just don't think he would beat Usyk no matter how many times they fought. Would he beat Tyson Fury? Hopefully we'll get to see, won't we? But I think Fury would... I don't know. I'd say Fury now, but not with a lot of confidence. But he did look good yesterday, even though he lost, strangely enough. Still talking Ryan Garcia. You got to realise he acts like a weirdo. That's how he makes his money. He's 24-1. You can't compete with him. Well, he's only had the one really big win, though, Timothy, hasn't he? He's beaten Devin Haney, but was towed up by Gervonta Davis, wasn't he? But anyway, I hope he gets those big fights. I really do. Holyfield was 37 years old, and I thought he gave Lewis a damn good fight in the rematch. Yeah, I loved Evander Holyfield. Absolutely loved Holyfield. And you're right, he did. I thought, what was the first fight? A draw. I thought maybe Lewis just shaded it, but I'm with you there, mate. I thought the rematch was very close. I thought Lewis might have just still got it, though. But, Holyfield, but fighting guys like, the fights with Bowe and Foreman, even Larry Holmes. I know Larry Holmes was a little bit past, but he was in great nick when he fought Holyfield and just mixing it toe-to-toe with these absolute monsters, or monsters, I should say. I just loved Evander Holyfield. Timothy again. He didn't beat Tank, but a rematch at 150. I promise it's Ryan this time. I don't think we'll ever get to see that at 150 there at Timothy or Himothy. Usyk beat Joshua, Fury. Marciano beat Charles, Moore, Walcott, and an old Lewis for me. Marciano. Are you agreeing with me or not? No. Hang on. Usyk beat Joshua, Fury. Marciano beat Charles, Moore, Walcott. You can't put Archie Moore in there, Andrew, for Marciano. Come on. He was, what are they saying, coming to America? He was 75 years old. That's how old I think he was. And an old Lewis for me, Marciano. Well, I'm not sure whether you're agreeing or not, but I don't think you can compare Marciano to Usyk, just my opinion. I'll let Himothy and Andy sort it out in the comments amongst themselves. All right. What do you think of the WBA implementing the new 10-pound rehydration clause? Do you think they did that for Tank Davis, who uses the clauses a lot? Yeah, I think, is it going to be 12-pound or 10-pound, Tommy? Whatever it is, I did see that. Because the IBF, I think, do it now. So, look, I'm not against it, Tommy. I don't mind it. It sort of eliminates, well, I suppose the fours and against. The fours are, it eliminates the weight bullies that put on 20 to 25 pounds per fight. But on the other hand, and also the safety aspect as well. For the guys that drag off 25 or 30 pounds to make weight, who knows what that does to their body and dehydrates their brain and all that sort of stuff. And you can't, I think it's been physically proven, you can't rehydrate fully within 24 to 36 hours. So that's the fours. Against it, I think if you can make the weight, you make the weight. Shouldn't really matter what you weigh going into the fight. If you make the weight on the designated day of the weigh-in, then that should be it. So if they bring it in that there's no rehydration clause. Well, as I said, you should be able to drain down as much as you want and weigh as much as you want in the fight. I don't think you can have it both ways. I don't like this thing about where you can drain down a certain amount, but you can only put on a certain amount. That in itself is dangerous. You can imagine someone that loses, say, 30 pounds, but they're only allowed to put on 10 or 12 pounds of those in return. That's not great. So I think they've got to get this right. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they've got to do something where the weigh-in is not just the day. I know they do weigh-ins a month out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, and then the day of it, all that sort of stuff. Maybe they've got to implement something there where a month out. I know it's a loose sort of weigh-in. It's more of a guide, but maybe they've got to have an official weigh-in a month out. And if you haven't made a certain weight by that time, then the fight's off. Or 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, whatever it might be. Maybe that's another way they could get around it, where they have official weigh-ins, not just a guide where it's a bit of a handshake agreement and everything else. An official weigh-in, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then, of course, the official one on the day. But I'm not really in favour of the rehydration clause as a general rule there, Tommy, because as I said, if you're draining 20 pounds down, you can only put on half of that back. That is dangerous. So, but I think they're on the right track. They're on the right track. So let's just hope they can get the mix right and have the safety aspects in there, but also to be fair, not is it really fair? It's not really. Well, I suppose it's not fair to. Is it fair to the opponent if you're allowed to put on as much weight as you want? I don't know. Look, just confusing myself and probably you guys out there as well. But yeah, I think I'm in favour of if they get it right, Tommy. That's probably the best way to say it. But there's still a lot of flaws in that. All right, what a time to be alive when Aussie boxing has two elite talents like Tim and Jai for us to argue over. Both have all the ability to be undisputed in their own right. Yeah, mate, good call there. All right, you guys are still talking about Ryan Garcia. Moses Otoma looks like he could be anything in a few years at heavyweight. Still very young, but exciting talent. Yeah, I watched that back yesterday. Yeah, he's got a long way to go. You. That's your screen name there, but definitely some talent there, mate, for sure. All right, Fury will not fight Joshua. If he beats Usyk in rematch, he will retire. Well, geez, wouldn't that be one of the biggest travesties of all time if the Fury and Joshua fight never happened? I did see some things online today that were saying that maybe Fury should just forget about the Usyk rematch and just fight Joshua. So the fight's just got to happen, doesn't it? Surely. All right, Jules, there's a gun to your head. Uh-oh. And you have to make an argument that Tyson Fury is overrated. What do you say? Ooh, okay. I have to make an argument that Tyson Fury is overrated. I think all right. Yeah, you got me. I don't think he's a big puncher. I suppose that's the first thing. I think his boxing skills are overrated. I think if you put him in comparison to guys like Holmes and even other like Lewis, Bowe, Spinks, Holyfield even, I don't think he has as good as skills as those guys. I don't think he has the tank of some of those guys. And I don't think he has the... Does that really count, though, if I say he hasn't got the work ethic and dedication to the sport that the other guys have? Maybe. I don't know. But being overrated, yeah, as I said, I don't think his overall boxing skills and technique and IQ are as good as some of the others that I've mentioned. He's not a big puncher and has been dropped numerous times in his fights. So, and hasn't really had that big legacy win either. He struggled against, I know he had those two great wins over Wilder, but Wilder, again, I'll say is the most not overrated, but because I don't think he's rated at all by a lot of people, but the least skilled heavyweight champion of all time, and he gave Tyson 3 hell of a fights, or 3, you know what I'm talking about, 3 absolute wars. So he struggled against a very limited fighter in Wilder. Klitschko was probably well past his peak at the time he fought him as well, and outside that, who else has he beaten? Nobody. So that would probably be my argument to say he's overrated. Hope I'm still around and you haven't pulled the trigger, mate. But anyway, AJ looked disappointed Usyk won. It seemed like he thought Fury was going to win and he was going to be next. I always thought AJ's style is a nightmare for Fury. I got the same impression there, Tommy. I did think that AJ was a little bit disappointed in the result, and you can't blame him. Fury and Joshua, even regardless of yesterday's result, is still the biggest heavyweight fight out there. I think that's just fact. So he was a little bit disappointed because he would probably be thinking, oh, these guys are going to fight again. Usyk's not going to want to fight me a third time. So he's probably doubting where he falls in the scheme of things. I know he's got this IBF situation now, but he'll be thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to win the IBF belt most likely, but I'm not going to get any of these big fights again because they're going to fight each other. So because he might be thinking, well, Usyk and Fury, if Fury wins this time, they're going to fight a third time. If Usyk wins, he'll probably retire. Fury will be damaged goods, so he might retire. Yeah, so I'm with you there, Tommy. Loma versus Berinchyk. Who you got? Yeah, well, I didn't actually think of that. They're both obviously Ukrainian lightweights. Nah, Loma for me. Tommy, I think he's still got enough in the tank. The heavyweights today are good, but not great compared to the past. Yeah, look, I do agree to some extent. Well, I do agree a lot there, Peter, but I'll just go back to what I said earlier in that you get better as the generations go on. I remember back when Larry Holmes was around, he got a lot of kickback from a lot of people because they said that was opposition were no good. But back then, I remember, the likes of terrible Tim Witherspoon and Bone Crusher Smith and all the Ronaldo Snipes, Ernie Shavers, Jerry Cooney, all that Mike Weaver, all these guys that he fought, Trevor Berbick, ended up being in history regarded as very, very good heavyweights. So, and Larry beat them all. So I think we'll just see again what it's like in 10 or 20 years' time. But yeah, I don't think I would rate any of the contenders to be as good as yesteryear, but we'll see what people say in 10 or 20 years' time. I'll let you guys still talk about Ryan Garcia there. David Tua wants the winner of Iron Mike and Jake Paul. Oh, no, I did see that. Who'd love to see that? He's only 55 and looking good. I wouldn't mind seeing David Tua and Mike Tyson. That's a fight that would have been the most explosive fight in history if they had a fought, 25 years ago, whatever it was. 25? Probably earlier, maybe 30 years ago. What a fight that would have been. But geez, even as an exhibition, could you really say to these guys, if it's not a real fight in an exhibition, if you had to say, hey guys, let's just look after each other, it'd be impossible. Oh, geez, I don't know. That would just be the battle of the irresistible force versus the immovable object, wouldn't it? It'd just be crazy. And he says Lennox is a great heavyweight. He'd be competitive in any era, but I also respect his take that you're only as good as your own era. Yep, good call. Peter says the spelling might be wrong, but what has happened to Akuso? I thought he could win a world title. This is Paulo Akuso, is it? I think he's still on the way there, Peter. Any word on the Tank pay-per-view price here? Not yet, Damien. Is it pay-per-view, Tank? And Frank Martin? Is it actually on? I did see something the other day that had been cancelled, but no, I haven't seen anything yet, mate. Fury versus AJ is still a big fight. Fury looks to be on the back slope, in my opinion. If it happens at the moment, I'm leaning to AJ, to be honest. Yep, not going to argue with that either, mate. If Fury lost to Joshua, it would destroy him. Losing to Usyk will be hard enough for him to swallow. I feel he was very conscious of AJ sitting ringside. That would be very, very hard for Fury to take, and he has been, or he has had mental health problems there. So how would that affect him in his long-term mental health, I suppose, JYD? Whether, as they say, he'd still have it in the basement, wouldn't you? So I think he could. I think if he fights Usyk again and loses to him, I think he could cop that. I really do. I think he would say, okay, well, the first fight, okay, I thought I won, I didn't get it. I think if he retired now, it would be very hard for him to take. I think if he loses to Usyk that second time, I think he'll be able to handle it. But you're right. If he did fight Joshua and lost, I'm not sure mentally he'd be able to cope with that, to be honest. Don King is promoting heavyweight fight on May 31. Okay, I didn't know that, mate. Let us know what fights it is. Jules says he's only 55. What a crazy time to be alive when 55-year-olds are being sanctioned to fight. Yeah, only 55. Well, that's the other thing, isn't it, Jules? I and I've said this myself. How did they sanction Mike Tyson to fight? I understand the exhibition side of things and all that sort of stuff, but to actually officially sanction him to fight, I just cannot get my head around it. And it could be dangerous. It could be very, very dangerous. Well, we've got a little bit of a break in proceedings there, guys. We've got about 10 minutes to go before we wrap it up. I'm going to do my little soapbox of the week. I did say last week I was going to call it Lyndon's Whinge or whatever. I'm going to call it just the soapbox of the week, where I get on and have my little say about something and have a whinge. This one's got to do with the Fury and Usyk fight in the lead up to the fight. I'm not talking about John Fury and anything like that. It's the weigh-in. And I have mentioned this a few times, but the weigh-in situation really worries me at the moment, where we're allowing so many people on the stage in the weigh-in or the circumstances of the weigh-in. Now, the other day was okay, and there was almost fireworks, but the way these days how the team or the parties, whatever it might be, support their fighter and they're passionate about their fighter and they almost take it personally, and you get the tit for tat between the teams. I would love if the promoters or organisers, whatever it might be, would say, let's have some common sense here. Have the fighter and his close team, so his actual close second, maybe his manager, promoter, whatever it might be, no more than the fighter plus maybe half a dozen people on the stage. And have the dignitaries up there and celebrities and all that sort of stuff. That's fine, but keep the hangers off away or hangers on away. I really worry, especially when you've got firecrackers like Ryan Garcia there and Tyson Fury to some extent as well out there with the teams. I'm very fearful that one day that there's going to be some real problems on stage and someone's going to get badly hurt or killed or whatever it might be. Because they're so passionate about their fighters these days. So that's my little soapbox moment for the week. What do you guys think? A couple more comments there. Peter, the Saudis will make the Fury Joshua next, and that's what they want. Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see what happens with the sanctioning bodies then if Fury doesn't want to fight Usyk and wants to fight Joshua instead. Why the hell doesn't the Saudis get George Foreman over there for the event? An absolute legend that won't be around forever. Yeah. I agree. I know Holyfield was over there and numerous others, but wouldn't it be great to see Big George over there? It'd be fantastic. Cassius Shaney versus Michael Hunter on May 31st for another interim belt. Okay. Not really getting keen about that one, mate. But anyway, have you seen the shape of Tua now? Jesus, no, I haven't seen him actually. Is he like Mike Tyson? I'm gathering he's in pretty good nick, I think. All right, a couple of more comments here. Usyk can sail off into the sunset right now and go down in history books, but he seems like the kind of man to honour his word. If Fury wants rematch, cool. If not, cool. Yep, I agree with that, Andy. And I think if Fury wants to fight, Usyk will give it to him for sure. Kind of like the 200 people on the scales to create some intensity. Yeah, okay. But I agree that it's potentially dangerous and the push and shove is becoming a bit boring and played out. Yeah, well, it's almost scripted, isn't it, Jules? But look, in the right way, it's actually good. I agree with you. If everyone's like back in the day when it was Mayweather and De La Hoya and Vargas and Tyson and all these guys, they had big entourages, but everyone sort of behaved themselves. Almost like these days, everyone's got to puff the chest out, and they become so obsessive about the fighter they represent, and it's like this personal thing. It's like almost going to a football match almost and having these guys puffing the chest out about what team they support. So back in those days, as I said, they used to have big entourages, but everyone, it was exciting. And even though Mayweather used to gob off a lot, all his supporters his team were pretty well behaved. And I remember when Ricky Hatton came over and all the rest of it. But these days, it's almost like they challenge each other it's like it's almost in the script now that, all right, well, who's going to push who? Okay, when it happens, then we're all going to join in and we're going to go for it. That's what I don't like. And that's why, as in this day and age we live in now, I just get worried that, as I said, someone's going to get badly hurt or killed or whatever it might be. But whatever. Maybe I'm just showing my age. You and you says agree about the stage, worry about a cut and the fight's off. That's another thing, mate. A bit of, well, what's to say the other day, Fury went in and he put his head on Usyk's forehead. What happened if he misjudged it and headbutted him and cut him? Fight's over right there. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want to separate the fighters, I will say. Maybe there's got to be a bit more said by the organisers to say, hey, this is the etiquette rules we have for this fight, so let's try and abide by them. We're going to have minimum amount on the stage, and the fighters, let's just keep it clean, and maybe they have fines and sanctions and all that sort of stuff. I'm all for the excitement. I just don't want to see any issues. That's all. Yeah, well, we saw it with John Fury, didn't we, Peter? It wasn't a big headbutt. That's all it took. He didn't. It was a little bit of a clip and cut him right down the middle. Imagine if that was Tyson Fury the other day on Usyk. What about that time Tank gave Riley a little push to fall off stage? That's right. He just gave him a little bit of a tap, didn't he? Did anyone catch Usyk's mate spitting water all over him post-fight and making Frank Warren and Fury's team collateral damage? What was going on there? No, I didn't see that, Jules. That's a very interesting. I'll have to go back and watch the replay. I didn't see that. So what happened to anyone? Usyk's mate spitting water all over him post-fight and making Frank Warren and Fury's team collateral damage. No, I'm going to have to go back and watch that now. You like the soapbox? Well, we've got some suggestions, mate. Look, it's just, I don't know. Again, I might be showing my age, and that's why I've called it the soapbox. It's just my little thing to get up and have a whinge. At least it's not about luggage on planes, mate. But that I haven't travelled overseas for, well, actually I did, didn't I, last month? But I haven't had any dramas overseas for a little bit, so I'll keep taking notes anyway and let you know my little gripes. Andy agrees. Entourage doesn't need to be there. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Well, if you're going to have them, maybe, I don't know, maybe separate them and they can. But you seen the other day when they were all just mixed in together. When Fury put his head on Usyk, and to his credit, Usyk just stood there and did his thing. But it was just a massive people. Everyone was getting pushed. It's just no good. It's just no good. And he says, I've always respected and preferred the gentleman approach to the fighters of the past. Yeah, and I'm with you there, mate. And look, I'm not going to say we've all got to be the gentlemen of 100 years ago. I'm not saying that, but the fighters still want to have their little back and forth, and it's almost in the script now that you got to face off and start talking to each other, and then maybe there's a push, but that's fine. But keep the entourages out of it. Keep them out, just off the stage. Be out in the audience, and you can do what you will, but just not on stage. What's to say someone doesn't fall, like get thrown off the stage or fall off stage? Or anyway, that's the soapbox for this week. Apologies tour is only 51. Well, okay, geez. Wouldn't it be fair for him to fight Tyson? Well, I'm just hoping Tyson just knocks Jake Paul out in the first round and we can just be done with this peanut once and for all. All right, a couple more comments. Fast forward to the in-ring interviews. When Tyson was being interviewed, Usyk's mate looked like he was cooling him down by spraying him with water. That's a strange way to cool him down, isn't it? From his mouth, Frank was pissed. Well, I don't blame him. His fighter's just gotten beat, and he's getting doused with water. I'm not going to justify that with a response there, Peter. If you're listening to this later, it's a black and white heart. Peter, I think I said yesterday, do they ever lose a close game? It's starting to piss me off. They never lose a close game, and I'm sick of it. This is Collingwood, of course. Good on them. Good on them. They're obviously doing something right, but doesn't mean I've got to be happy about it. So, all right, guys, let's leave it at that. We've got a couple of minutes to go, but I think we've all had our fun for tonight. Look, really appreciate you all logging in and joining the conversation. Again, I love getting on here and talking boxing with all you guys and girls. It's a highlight of my week. I look forward to Mondays, and it's, as I said, it's always great. So we'll keep a lookout for Wednesday night live. I've got a couple of things in mind with that. I'll put that out tomorrow. So keep a look at 7:00 Wednesday night for our next segment on talking points or dream fights, whatever it might be. And we'll catch you next Monday for talking boxing. Thanks, guys.